For 10 years, I raced professional motocross. If you're not familiar with motocross, it's a form of motorcycle racing on a dirt bike. We go through all kinds of obstacles in all types of conditions. We push the limits of gravity in a way that will put you on the edge of your seat. I loved doing what I did, and I was pretty good at my sport, although you might not know it from some of my mishaps.
At some point, Trey Canard had every reason to walk away from racing completely. By his mid-20s, he's already broken femurs, destroyed collarbones, blown out knees, and lost years of his career to rehab. Every time it looked like he was finally building momentum, another crash ripped it away again. And unlike a lot of riders, Trey openly admitted he was scared sometimes, that there were periods where he questioned whether he should even keep doing it. Then the gate would drop, and somehow he was still right there with Filippoto, Dungey, Stewart, Reed, and Tomac like none of it had happened. That's what made Trey Canard different. Not just that he survived everything motocross threw at him, it's that no matter how many times the sport broke him, he kept coming back anyway. Before the injuries became the story, Trey Canard was one of the most naturally talented young riders in the sport. He came up through Honda's amateur program, one of those kids everybody in the amateur ranks knew about before he ever turned pro. He was from Shawnee, Oklahoma. He rode like someone who'd grown up with the dirt under his fingernails, and when he got to the 250 class, he was immediately the kind of rider you watched because something was always about to happen. He won the 250 East Supercross Championship in 2008, rookie year. First full professional Supercross season, and suddenly this kid from Oklahoma was beating factory-level competition.
And Trey Canard and all that hard work pays off. Also, the homestead of 2008, he wins the Supercross Lights East Coast Championship.
My rear kind of slipped out a little bit, touched him, and he went this way, hit the pole. And I'm thinking, oh man, what did I just do? Rolled over the finish line and basically had about 6 more laps to kind of ride the thing out. And, man, coming across that finish line was just an amazing thing. I remember kind of coming across and it just being surreal. I don't even know how to explain it, just an amazing feeling and just overwhelming joy. You know?
The year he won that title, he also fractured his femur at Washougal. He missed the rest of the season and spent months rehabbing before finally coming back. That became the template for his career, almost to a painful degree. By 2011, he'd moved up to the 450 class on a full factory Honda ride. He had podium pace almost as soon as he got there. 3 wins that Supercross season: Houston, Jacksonville, Arlington, before a training crash took him out with another broken femur and ended his SX run early. He came back for Millville to race his first ever 450 Outdoor National, finished 3rd. Then the next weekend at Washougal, he re-broke the same femur. That's the year before the crash that stops everything. Then came Dodger Stadium in 2012, opening lap of the LA Supercross main. Canard got caught up with a tough block. It ruined his rhythm through the section, and instead of tripling out, he doubled. Ryan Moraes was committed behind him and landed on him. Both riders went down hard. Moraes was seriously injured, and Canard fractured vertebrae in his back, T10, T11, and T12. Suddenly, this wasn't just another broken bone or another missed race. This was the kind of crash where the first question isn't when you're coming back. It's whether you should even be thinking about coming back at all.
I didn't want to jump this triple with this tough block on my foot peg, so I opted to double the triple.
Front where they needed to be, but it was only about 7th or 8th. Notice Trey Canard, double singles. And a huge wreck, as I said, involving Canard, Morris, and Mike.
Usually when you do that, the people behind you are aware of that and they can shut down and do the same. But Ryan Moraes was behind me and I guess he didn't see me or just thought he could jump it and get past me. And I woke up 30 minutes later and I learned that I'd been landed on and that I'd broken my back. And it was such a scary moment. There was a few days there where it's like kind of on limbo, you know, just in a lot of pain and really not knowing what's going on with my back, with my future, with everything.
At some point, probably lying in a hospital bed trying to make sense of the last 24 hours, Trey Canard has to ask himself the question you can't logic your way out of. Why go back? He'd already been through injuries serious enough to make most people rethink the sport entirely. By this point, he'd already spent huge parts of his career in hospitals and rehab instead of on a dirt bike. At some point, the question stops being whether you can come back physically. It becomes whether you still want to keep putting yourself through it. He's talked about this over the years, and what stands out is how honest he was about it. Trey admitted he was scared at times, and there were periods where he genuinely wasn't sure his body would hold up anymore. But he did also say that walking away felt worse than staying. That last part, it's the whole thing. Walking away felt worse than staying.
I always returned strong from my injuries, but they piled up fast. In 9 months, I broke my left femur twice, my left collarbone, and I had a 3-level spinal fusion. The cumulative effect of trauma made it more and more difficult to keep saddling up. Layer after layer, the trauma of these injuries began to leave a mark on me.
It was hard for me, and it kind of stayed with me my whole career, like just that, you know, being that close to, you know, it's a spinal cord injury. So it was like, it really stayed heavy with me, but you know, a lot of good came out of that. You know, being able to go on that trip, and ultimately that's where I met Hannah, and I just feel like it was a great shift in my life. You know, that kind of set up the next stage in my life. The message is like, trauma does not have to define you. These setbacks in our lives, they don't have to define us. They can actually create something beautiful in our lives, and that's really been the case for me.
That's not bravery in the way people usually mean it. Something more complicated and honestly more relatable. The sport had already taken so much from him, and the idea of it also taking who he was, a racer, the identity he'd built since he was old enough to ride, that felt like the bigger loss. Most guys watching this know some version of that. Maybe a crash that scared your wife bad enough that you sat in the garage afterward and actually thought about whether you were going to keep doing this. The scale is different, but the feeling isn't. The recovery was long and complicated by the nature of what had happened, not just fixing bones, but figuring out why it happened in the first place and whether it was safe to go back. Testing, monitoring, a whole medical process before anyone was signing off on him getting back on a bike. He missed the rest of the season. It's a long time to sit with what happened. When you're rehabbing a broken bone, there's a process you can see on an X-ray. Inflammation, bone growth, strength work, range of motion. You can measure progress. There's no X-ray for confidence. Coming back after something serious, especially once you've already been through major injuries before, the mental side doesn't follow the same timeline as the physical recovery. He came back for the 2013 Supercross season, factory Honda, and anyone who was watching that year knows the story. Anaheim won, season opener. The whole industry shows up to the first race. The crowd is loud, the track is as good as it gets, and there's this feeling in the air of everything resetting. Canard lines up. He's been gone long enough that everyone in the stadium knows exactly what it means that he's there. He goes out and finishes on the podium. In his first race back, after however many months of not knowing if any of this was going to work out, he shows up and competes at the front. You don't manufacture that. He went out in front of everyone who knew the whole story of the previous year and just went racing. The reaction in the stadium that night wasn't just for a race result. That was people who understood what it had cost him to be standing on that podium.
So what's going through your mind? I mean, you know, I got to go back to Dodger Stadium last year. I mean, it's almost been a year since you've actually raced a motorcycle. I mean, I know I've talked to you earlier and you had a local race underneath your belt or something like that, but it's not like coming to a big stadium like this. I mean, to walk away with a second.
I really had no number I was after. You know, I did not race since Dodger Stadium, and my deal was I wanted to go here and do my best, and I was just grateful to line up on that gate. And, I tell you, this went better than I could ever dream, and I hope to continue that throughout the year, and hopefully we can
get a win, but I tell you what, I'm just grateful to be here, and hopefully I can be there each weekend.
I want to personally congratulate him and welcome back, man. Hey, now it all paid off now, all that hard work, man.
Thanks, Holly.
Good job, man.
Appreciate it.
If Supercross was where Canard had his headline moments, outdoors was where you saw who he actually was on a motorcycle. The Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship. Longer motos, natural terrain, tracks that punish anyone who isn't completely committed. That was his home. There's a type of rider who's technically clean on a Supercross track, hits their lines, doesn't take big risks, stays consistent. That wins championships. That wasn't Trey Canard. He'd go places on a track that other fast guys would look at and ride around. He'd commit to a rut or a chop that the smart line avoided and come out the other side faster than the guy who took the safe route. Outdoors rewards that. Supercross asks you to be precise. Motocross asks you to be committed. And Canard had that in full. 2013 Outdoors was the clearest picture. He was in the mix on a consistent basis, and when he got a clean run at things, he was a legitimate threat for the overall. Villopoto won 4 450 Supercross titles back-to-back, 2011 through 2014. Dungey won in 2010 and then basically lived on the podium for the next 7 years. These weren't guys you could beat on a bad day. They were historically good, both going to be remembered as all-timers. That matters for how you read Canard's career. Didn't win a championship reads a lot differently when you know who was in the gate every weekend. His podiums mean more in that context. His wins are a bigger deal. Coming back from a career-threatening injury and regularly putting your bike ahead of Villopoto and Dungey tells you something about where he sat in terms of raw ability. Maybe the career looks different in a different era, maybe a lot different, but that's motocross. You race who's in front of you. By this point, every comeback was starting to feel heavier than the one before it. Not because Trey stopped being fast. If anything, that was part of what made the whole thing frustrating to watch. Every time he got healthy enough to put together a stretch of races, you could still see the rider people believed in from the beginning. But now there was history attached to all of it. The femurs, the back injury, the rehab cycles. Every new crash carried all the previous ones with it.
When I look at somebody like yourself, yes, you've had success. You've had massive amounts of success. And so don't take what I'm saying as like way too literal. I'm just saying that we could have. I'm heartbroken when I see stuff like that, because I expected you to win a 450 Supercross championship, at least one. You know, like you had so much adversity that was not talent based. It was just fucking bad luck. How many times do you have to get up from getting knocked down, kind of a thing?
Yeah, and you know, Rob, like the work it takes to build a certain base is really hard, man. It's like, it's hard. Mm-hmm. And then when you have to continually hit this reset button, taking 10 weeks off, you know, like to then again start and rebuild a base. It's like, that's one of my, I wish I could have raced my career and not had to constantly rebuild, because I think I would have been, physically speaking, like endurance-wise, street-wise, I think I would have been a far superior athlete than I was, you know.
And then came 2015. The 2015 injury broke the momentum at the worst possible moment. By then, Canard had finally started putting together the kind of consistency his career had rarely allowed. He could train normally again, and actually think about building a full season instead of just getting through one. Then the knee went. 6 months minimum before you're back in any competitive sense, and even then you're managing it.
Watch this as Weimer makes a slight mistake. Canard lands on top of him. Both riders go down extremely hard.
The red flag comes out, and fortunately both riders were able to leave the racetrack under their own power, but who knows if we'll see them racing in St. Louis.
And remember, Trey Canard was second in points coming into this race.
Rebuilding confidence in something that failed you. Every time you land a jump, some part of your brain is doing a damage assessment. That takes time to stop. For Canard, given what was already in the file, that process never fully stopped at all. Canard is maybe the most honest rider of his generation about what repeated injury actually does to you. It's not that you stop willing to go fast. It's that your brain is working against you a little every time. Your body knows what it feels like when things go wrong. It's been there, and it would prefer not to do that again. Not cowardice, your brain doing the math on what happened last time and the time before that. Most riders don't say this part out loud. The sports culture has always been about toughness, and admitting fear feels like it undercuts the image. Canard said it. Canard admitted that fear became part of racing for him at times, but he kept showing up anyway. Riding hurt is one thing. Racing after you've already learned exactly how bad things can get, that's different. Canard's faith was a documented and important part of how he processed all this. Not a PR talking point. Read his interviews and you can tell it shaped the way he handled the hardest parts of his career.
In 2011, I broke my femur, and I was like, all right, cool, I'll just kind of heal up from this and then we'll be good. I won't break another bone for at least 3 years or so. I get going again, and it's 3 months later, broke my femur again. I'm like, all right, God, I don't know why you let stuff like this happen, but I'm just gonna keep going. All right, get back on the bike from that. 3 weeks later, break my collarbone. And I'm like, man, did I steal something from the lady at the bank or what? What's going on here? Everything's kind of going, I get over that. And then my second race back from my collarbone, I break my back. And I'm thinking, man, this is rough. I don't know, God, whatever you're doing, man, just, all right. Not knowing the certainty of my injury and the certainty of my future makes people a little hesitant, And not only that, but there's like 4 injuries in a row. So it's like, can we take a chance on this kid or not? Maybe he just gets hurt all the time. For me, I think finding your identity in something other than what you're doing, finding your identity in something that is greater than you, that is what pulled me through.
But there's something else in the story that doesn't get enough attention, which is what Team Honda actually did. There is a version of this where a team decides the injuries are too much and moves on. A rider stuck in rehab isn't helping you win races or championships, but Honda stayed with Trey through it all. And when you're trying to come back from major injuries, having people around you who still believe in you matters more than most fans probably realize. The 2013 outdoor season felt important because it was the first time in a while that Trey Canard looked like he could finally build something uninterrupted. It felt like actual momentum. Week to week, the results started stacking up. Podiums, strong motos, races where he looked comfortable running at the front again. Outdoors suited where Trey's confidence was at that point in his career. He didn't have to be perfect every second the way Supercross demands. Over a long moto, he could settle into the race, start charging rough lines, and build speed as the track got tougher. By the middle of that summer, Trey wasn't just having isolated good races anymore. The speed was starting to carry from round to round. For fans watching at the time, it started feeling possible that maybe, finally, Trey Canard was putting the worst part of the injury cycle behind him. Spring Creek in Millville was one of those races. The track was rough, technical, and fast in the way outdoors gets when the lines start breaking down late in the motos. Canard looked comfortable there all day, like a rider actually trying to win the race instead of just surviving it. He battled James Stewart deep into the second moto and finished second overall for the day.
One of the epic races that I think is like a pretty dope Trey Canard moment was the Millville battle with old Jimmy.
Yeah, dude, I hear more. There's 2 things that pop up on my Instagram feed all the time, and one of them is the goon riding video from like early on, and the other one is the battle with Stu.
Yeah.
And dude, I can honestly say that was one of the funnest races I ever raced. Like, I finished that first moto where we battled hard. The second moto we battled, but the first moto it was like
it was on.
It was on, like we touched wheels in the air, like we were like all over the place trying to win that race. And I remember getting second and just like, dude, I was still smiling because I was like, one, I just raced James Stewart, like 10-year-old me is like high-fiving me, like,
Freaking
good
out.
job, dude. Yeah, like that's James Stewart. But too, like I was still trying to battle for my first win, and it was just fun, man. It was fun.
That race mattered because it reminded people how dangerous Trey still was outdoors when he found a rhythm. For one afternoon, the injuries and setbacks stopped being the story, and the riding took over again. Trey wasn't the kind of rider who looked effortless the way Dungey sometimes did. His speed came from aggression and commitment. He attacked rough sections hard, stayed on lines longer than most riders would, and somehow kept momentum through parts of the track where other guys started backing off. It wasn't always clean, but it was effective. He was also well-liked in the paddock, not in the political sense, in the sense that his crew, the other riders, people who'd been around him for any length of time, just seemed to respect him. That doesn't always translate to lap times. It tells you something about the kind of person he was, and it's part of why his story lands the way it does beyond the results. By the mid to late career seasons, the math was getting hard. The injuries had never fully stopped, and even when he was healthy enough to race, he was doing it with a body that had absorbed more than most people carry in a full career. Even late in his career, Trey was still capable of running near the front when everything clicked. The problem was that the healthy stretches never seemed to last very long anymore, and the competition wasn't getting any easier. Eli Tomac was coming into his own. Dungey was still there. The field keeps moving whether you're healthy or not. Trey Canard's career didn't end with a championship or some perfectly scripted final season. By the time he retired, he'd won Supercross races, won outdoor overalls, and spent nearly a decade racing at the highest level of the sport. The announcement was quiet, which fit him. He didn't make a production of it.
Shoot. Thought this was going to be a lot easier than it is. But I just want to thank you guys for coming out. I know you'll have a very busy day today. But thank you for being here. As many of you know, I'm picking a day. It's going to be my last day, hanging up the boots. So I just want to take a few minutes to thank everyone here for a lifetime of memories. All the love and support you guys have given me has been amazing through my career.
If you came up racing in the early 2000s, Canard might have been one of the first guys you watched in the 450 class who was your generation. The Carmichael era was already wrapping up. Jeremy McGrath was a poster on the wall, not someone you watched live on a Saturday afternoon. Canard was current. He was now. Watching him go through it in real time, when you were also starting to understand that your own body had limits, that the weekend rides weren't consequence-free anymore, that the shoulder you tweaked last fall still wasn't quite right. That landed differently than watching a distant legend do something extraordinary. Fans connected with Trey because nothing about his career looked effortless. You could see the cost of it in real time. Sometimes the injury narrative swallows the fact that he was just good at this sport. Trey wasn't remembered only for the comebacks. Every time he got back on the gate, he still looked capable of running near the front against the best riders in the sport. Trey spent most of his career racing in an era where weak fields didn't exist. The pace at the front was brutal, and careers disappeared quickly if you couldn't keep up. Trey stayed relevant in that environment for years, even when his career kept getting interrupted. Tell a 17-year-old kid just starting amateur that he's going to break his femur multiple times, suffer a catastrophic crash that could end his career, and spend significant stretches of his prime years in a hospital or on a couch. Then tell him he'll win multiple Supercross races and an outdoor overalls in a field with RV and Dungey. He'd take that deal. He'd understand what it cost. After retirement, Trey Canard didn't become a distant name from Honda's past. He became part of the machinery behind what Honda races now. His biggest role has been with Honda HRC as a test rider and team advisor, the kind of job most fans don't see, but every factory rider feels. Testing isn't just riding laps and giving a thumbs up. It's trying settings, feeling chassis changes, sorting out what works at race pace, and giving the engineers feedback they can actually use.
And it was really strange. You know, your identity gets all kind of out of whack, and your drive, your purpose, it seems really vague. So for me to be able to kind of step out of the racing and then but still be involved with it and still be able to ride a lot, that it's been kind of like the best thing for me these last 5 years. Action sports athletes, we start so young, like we're contracted at 8, 9 years old to some degree. And then your whole identity, it never has an opportunity to see yourself outside of that, So
100%.
You're just like, I'm Trey the racer, and I don't know what I am outside of that because I've never really experienced anything outside of that. And so I think where a lot of guys in the action sports world get sideways when they're done racing is they literally don't know who they are without that. And so it's difficult. And I'm happy that I have this testing role because it kind of allows me to have one foot in the door and then also kind of continue to try to figure out who I am outside of motorcycles. So yeah, it's a tough one to figure out.
That matters because Honda has had some massive moments in the years since Trey stopped racing full-time. Chase Sexton won Honda's first Premier Class Supercross title in 20 years. Jet Lawrence came into the 450 class and made history on a Honda. Behind those race bikes is a development process, and Canard has been part of that world. He was also the rider Honda trusted when it brought the CR Electric Proto into official competition in Japan. That wasn't nostalgia. That was Honda putting a retired racer on one of its future-facing projects because his feedback still mattered. So the end of Trey Canard's racing career wasn't really the end of his value to the sport. He just went from being the guy trying to win on the bike to one of the people helping build the bike someone else could win on. Trey Canard never became the defining champion of his era, but he became one of the riders people never forgot. Years later, fans still remember races where Trey looked capable of beating anybody in the field. Those moments stuck because they felt earned every single time they happened. That's a different kind of legacy than numbers on a stat sheet, but it's still real. In some ways, maybe more real. Because fans didn't stay attached to Trey Canard because they were told to. They stayed attached because the career actually meant something to them while they were watching it happen. Every moto fan seems to have one Trey Canard race they never forgot. What's yours? Thanks for watching. Stay wicked.